All right, hello. Last night, I finally watched Rebel Ridge. So, Rebel Ridge is that new Netflix movie everybody's seeing right now. I feel like um, it's a very it's for one thing it's long. It's like 2 hours long, but it's basically about this light skinned man who goes to some sort of small country huck white people town, and he tries to save his cousin from going to jail because if the cousin has snitched a couple years back on some people, and he was like, if the cousin goes to jail, they know he snitched. They're waiting for him to come to the jail, so he can't go to jail. He needs to bail the cousin out before they transfer him to the jail that he's gonna go to, because if he gets there, they're gonna kill him. So he gets to the town. Mind you, this man spends like 50% of the movie riding a bike. He never had a car. He was on a bike the whole time. When we meet him, he's riding his bike on a bridge, and a police officer comes and runs him over. Like, when I say run him over, I mean legitimately actually run him over. Like, he just comes from behind him and hits him with a car. And, you know, he's huge, though. The guy who plays Rebel Ridge is really, really big. And the most important fact I would say about him is that he has blue eyes. Yes, I'm going to tell you a lot of things about him, but never forget throughout this is that his eyes are blue while he's doing all this. Because I feel like my main takeaway of the movie was good looking light skinned man with blue eyes fighting for his life for 2 hours. Like, that's basically what the movie is about, because we meet him, he gets hit by the police officer, and then from them it just takes off. Like, one thing after another, just bad things just keep happening. And one thing I've been learning about lately is narrative structure. And one thing they talk about is like how the call to action has to be based off somebody else's action. Like, it has to be somebody else's doing that brings the main character, or the protagonist as we call them, to do whatever the movie's about. Like, whatever it is, like that's going to take us to our climax, like, it has to be brought along by somebody else's action. I'm not sure if the call to action would be the cousin getting arrested, or the call to action would be him getting hit by the police car. Because I feel like the call to action is him getting hit by the police car, only because he gets hit by the car, right? Oh, he gets hit by the car, right? After he gets hit by the car, they're like, you're detained. We're gonna search you. He's like, I'm not giving permission to search. He's like, all right, you don't have to give permission to search, but I'm going to call the K9 unit. He calls the K9 unit. The K9 unit says they're going to take like an hour to get there because they're at the vet and they're doing all types of stuff. Like, remember, this is a small town. This is like, he's literally in the country in some random town on his way to go bail out the cousin. So then he's like, okay, dang, I don't have an hour. I need to go to the courthouse, because if he doesn't get there by a certain time to bring the bail money, then the cousin gets transferred to the new jail. So he has to get there by a certain time. So he's like, okay, fine, search it. Forget the K9 unit. They cancel the K9 unit. They look through his bag. They find close to $30,000 in his bag. They're like, oh, this is clearly drug money, this, that, and the third. We're definitely taking it. We're giving you this citation for resisting arrest and for, like, trying to run or whatever. And he's like, bro, you hit me with a police car. He said, I was following you for like 2 miles and I kept telling you to stop. You didn't stop. He's like, I had headphones on and I was riding a bike. I did not hear or see you. And he was like, well, either way, this is what's happening. And the guy's really big, so you can tell the police officers are a bit intimidated by him, but are trying to keep cool. And him too, he has a very cool and calm demeanor the entire movie. Like the most ridiculous, like imagine a police officer hitting you with their car, with their police car, and then still trying to arrest you afterwards. Like, and you're on a bike, like you're not even in a car. And then the police officer is going to say, like, to him, he's going to say to him, oh, even though you're on a bike, you still have to follow traffic rules. They're in the middle of nowhere. There's no one around. There's no cars. There's no people. There's nothing there but fields. So it's like clearly they're just antagonizing him for the sake of antagonizing him. And they're like, we have to collect the money because it's drug money. He's like, no, that is not drug money. I have proof of where I've gotten all that money from. Please, you cannot take it because I'm on my way to a courthouse to go bail my cousin out. They're like, what's your cousin in jail for? He's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just trying to go get him, this, that, and the third. They're like, nah, what's your cousin in jail for? He's like, possession, but it was just weed. And then they're like, well, that's all the proof we need. Your cousin going to jail for weed? Like, yeah, clearly you want some drug stuff. And he's like, no, I own steak in a restaurant. This is my part in the steak in the restaurant. And I also had a truck. I sold it. And that's the money from the truck as well. So those are, I got like 10 bands from the truck, 20 bands from the restaurant. Therefore, that's why I have like about 30K. They're like, oh, well, either way, we still have to take it. You can fight this in court if you want. So they give him a paper for the information of what's going to happen if he goes to court, you know, to go get the money back, like the paperwork for the court money. And then they let him go. He gets back on the bike, bro. This nigga just got hit by a car. Gets back on the bike and bikes to the jailhouse to go figure out what he can do about his cousin. He's like, oh, I need to bail my cousin out, but I don't have no money. They're like, what? We can't bail your cousin out with no bread. He's like, okay, well, they took my money. How can I get that money back? They're like, oh, yeah, that's long. That's complicated. It's going to be a whole thing. He's like, damn. Okay. So he goes to the police station to go talk to the sheriff to make a report on what the police officers did to him because it was illegal. They like came, hit him with a car, detained his money for no reason, searched him for no reason. Like everything they did, it was just no reason. So he goes to the sheriff's office. Obviously, the sheriff is some old white man who's racist as well. And he's on some like, you're definitely not getting your money back. And they're like, okay, whatever. And he leaves again. And after one thing after another bad just keeps happening to him. And I feel like the comparison I would use, like creatively, is like when you like decide to go on like go a certain route. Like let's say like whatever your creative endeavor is, like let's say you decide you want to make clothes and you're gonna be a fashion designer, right? When you start, I promise you, on God, it definitely is like very likely that one thing after another keeps going wrong, right? Because like from the moment we meet, I think his name was Carrie in the movie. Yeah, his name's like Carrie or something. It's like a girly name. But the moment we meet him, I swear to God, he never catches a break. We meet him getting hit by a police car. And then after that, he goes to the jailhouse to try to figure out how he could get his cousin out. They're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. He's going to be transferred within the next couple of days. You got a couple of days to figure out how to get that money back here so you can bail him out. From there, he goes to the sheriff's office to report those officers for the abuse and try to get his money back. They're like, no. He leaves from there to go try to get his cousin out. Oh, yeah, he goes and he calls the Chinese restaurant where he got the money from originally, right? He calls the man who owns the restaurant. He's like, oh, brother, like, you know, I got my money took. Can you lend me another 10K? Like, can I get another 10K? Because I just need to bail my cousin out. Once he's bailed out, I'll figure out the rest from there, you know? And I think he had told the police officers as well that the 10K that he was going to use to bail his cousin out, he was then going to use the rest of the money to haul boats. So he was going to go buy a truck, and him and the cousin were going to haul boats as income. They were going to start a boat hauling business. And so they took the money, so he can't get his cousin out. He goes to the police station to try to get the money. They're like, no. So he begs the Chinese restaurant owner for the money. And the Chinese restaurant owner is like, okay, yeah, of course I got you because, you know, you're a good guy. I mess with you, whatever. He's like, I'm going to send the money. Okay. So now he's waiting for the money to get sent. He starts living in the woods, y'all. Bro, when this guy goes and starts living in the woods, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like he's willing to do anything. And when you see him, he's so big, he's so built, he's so toned. You can tell like this guy has to have some sort of fighting training, gun training. Like he has to be trained in something. Like there's no way you look as serious and as big as he does and don't have some sort of background, right? And the thing is, even when the police officers are messing with him and they hit him with the car and all that, he always stays really calm. He never lets them get him out. Even when they're doing stuff that's clearly illegal, clearly like out of line and stuff, he just always stays super calm and is like, and he goes with whatever. He never is like, no. And I'm thinking to myself, even when the police officers are doing all that to him, I'm like, beat them up. They look so small next to you. Like, just whoop them. Like, whoop them. Like, he could have so easily just, like, decided to, like, I don't know, just beat them up and, like, take his money and go. But obviously, it's the police. So even if you can fight police officers, like, should you? So we then end up finding out like the police officers are worried about him because they're like, he's clearly not giving up about this money and he wants to see his cousin because he asked the sheriff. He was like, okay, well, if you won't give me my money, can I at least see my cousin? Because he needed to tell his cousin and warn him, like, be careful because they're gonna try to kill you, like 100,000%. There's no way they're letting you get away scotch-free. They know that you're the one who snitched all those years back. So he needs to warn his cousin. The sheriff's like, no, but if you come back in the morning, I'll think about it. Like 9 a.m., come here sharp. I'm going to try to let you see your cousin. You're not getting your money back, though. So he's like, okay. He goes, lives in the woods, catches fish for dinner, cooks it outside, sleeps outside, wakes up in the morning, and goes to the police station to go try to see his cousin. When he gets there, the sheriff's like, oh, your cousin's already gone. We transferred him to the next prison. He's like, what do you mean? You told me I could see him. He's like, oh, I told you 9 o'clock. It's 9:03. So then he gets irritated. He walks away. I'm like, bro, like every single moment, I just am like, bro, swing on him. Like, that's all I'm thinking the entire movie is just like swing on the police officers because I'm tired. Like, this is too much. But instead what he does, he gets on his bike, bro. He gets on his bike and starts full speed biking through the woods to try to catch up with his cousin. He gets to the road where the bus for the prisoners transport is, and he drives the bike like next to the bus at like, I can't tell. Obviously, you don't know what speed he's going at, but he got to be going a good 30 to 40 miles an hour, you know? So he's riding along the bus. He's like, oh my God, it's my cousin. He came. He's like, oh, I'm coming to get you out. He's like, what? This is a breakout or something? Because, like, this nigga's on a bike, just riding a bike next to a bus at, like, 30, 40 miles an hour. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, nah, like, I'm trying to get the bail money together. I'm doing what I can. Don't worry about it. But be careful when you get there. Keep your head on the swivel. They know, like, they're going to try to get you, like, whatever. He's like, do this, do that. Gives him some advice. He's like, all right, bet, got you. Thank you. Like, what did I... I know I messed up. Like, thank you for coming, like, or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm going to try to get your bail money together. Don't worry. He's like, okay. They fist bump, and the bus keeps riding forward, and he finally can slow down from riding the bike, right? Meanwhile, at the police station, the police are starting to get a little wary of this guy, right? They're like, bro, let's look him up. Like, let's look up more information about him. Is he like a vet? Like, he seems like a vet because the way he acts, he knows like police lingo. He's very like cooperative when we're doing stuff that are clearly, messed up to him. Like, but he stays calm. Like, I feel like a civilian who went through the things he was going through would have definitely already been arrested because they would have acted up. There's no way, like, a police car is hitting me and I'm not turning up. Like, I'm gonna turn up. If you guys are racist, you're gonna use that as an excuse to arrest me. I would have been arrested with all the things they done to him. But he always stays really calm and he always like is super like knowledgeable about kind of how police interactions kind of go. So they're starting to get a little wary because he's clearly not giving up. He just rode a bike next to a bus just to give a message. Like, this man is clearly on something else, So So they're starting to look him up. He comes back to the police station and he's like recording everything the police officers are saying to him as he tries to like make a report against the officers that hit him with the car. He's like, I want to make a police report. Like, I want to file a report against them. They're clearly like, no, you're not filing no false reports on any of our officers at our station. And he's like, it's not false, it's true. They're like, I don't care. Like, get out of here. Just leave or else we're going to arrest you for lying on a police record or whatever. The sheriff comes out and starts telling him, yeah, there's no report happening. Like, I don't know what you thought this was. Get out of here, And something that was interesting to me, like the lady who was like one of the police officers who never leaves. Like, she doesn't like really get in her patrol car much. She's more of like a in the office type of officer. And she's like this chubby little black lady, and I'm just thinking like, there goes the trope. Like, you got the mammy, you got the runaway slave, you got the enslaved slave, you got the massa, the sheriff, and then you got the overseer, the officers. Like, it was just really like, obvious, like very plantation-y, but like modern day. And he tells the sheriff, he's like, I'm going to make a deal with you. There's like 30K, 26K, something. I don't remember the exact number, but he's like, just give me 10 bands so I can bail out my cousin, and then y'all can keep the rest. I won't even report it. Like, I won't report it missing. I won't y'all don't even have to do nothing. Like, just give me 10 bands. And they're like thinking, low key, the sheriff looks like he's thinking about it. Like, ooh, that's kind of will save us the trouble of having to deal with this guy. But then he's like, nah, you're not getting it. Right? So he leaves. After he leaves, they look him up. And what they end up finding out about him is that he's a vet, but he never actually went overseas. Like, he never went to Iran. He never went to Iraq. Like, he never actually fought active combat. But he was discharged honorably. And he was a part of some sort of military group called the MCMPA or something like some acronym, but they don't know what that means, right? Now that they told him he can't get the 10K to bail out his cousin has already been transferred. He's trying to hurry up, like time is of the essence for his cousin to survive. He goes and talks to this lady who works at the courthouse, and that lady's telling him like something's weird going on. Because the fact that your cousin was arrested for something he should be able to get out on easily, and the bail is so high for the charge that he got, like $10,000 for like a weed possession charge, like that's a crazy amount to need to pay. They're like, something's going on corrupt amongst the officers. So he's like, okay, interesting to know. She's like, she can help him and bail out the cousin as quick as possible and have all the paperwork ready before he gets there with the money. He's like, all right, he's going to figure out a way to get the money. If she just needs to make sure that everything's ready to go. The minute he comes with the money, she needs to be good to go. Like, don't be on lunch break. Don't do anything. Like, a minute I get here, be ready to go. He's waiting for the Chinese people to send him money. Remember, I told you he called them and they were like, of course we got you. Like, we're going to send you the bread since you don't have it. And when he calls them, he's like, bro, what did you do? You have officers coming to my restaurant accusing me of dealing drugs and searching the place. Like, we're not in operation right now because of it. Like, they're doing all types of stuff. So basically, I guess the sheriff, because the money that he had, he did tell them, like, proof, like, hey, this is the restaurant that I got the money from. I, like, cashed out my stake in the restaurant. And this is the truck that I sold that was like, a couple $10,000 or some kind of, car type number amount of money where I got the rest of the money from. Well, because the sheriff knew where the restaurant was, he sends officers from that area to that restaurant and says he suspects them of dealing drugs. Like, and then that causes problems for the Chinese people. So he's like, yeah, no, we're not sending you no money. You just caused all these problems. He's like, that's not my fault. I just told them that I got money from you guys from the restaurant. And I guess they decided to do this. I didn't know they were going to do that. I'm going to, make it right. Don't worry. I'm sorry. They're like, yeah, whatever, but we can't send the money because of all this. And then he's like, all right, whatever. So now he gets mad and he's like, time is of the essence. He doesn't have a choice. So he goes to the police station to go try to get his money back. He's like, I'm going to get that money back. He gets to the police station. Right when he gets to the police station, he's standing out front looking menacing and huge with blue eyes and light skin. And the sheriff and them see him and they're like, search up what that one training he did in the military or like in the program. Like, what program was he part of? Look it up. They're like, what? But now since they know that he never was active duty, like he never went overseas, he never actually did combat, they're kind of not that scared of him anymore. They're like, whatever. So what, he was in the military or army or whatever. So what, he's a vet. He never even was deployed. Like, what does he know about anything? So now the sheriff is feeling safe. He walks out to the front where the man is standing, Carrie is standing, to go talk to him and tell him basically, we don't care what you want. We don't care. Like, we're not doing nothing for you. He says, hey, is that deal on? Like, can I get the 10 bands? He's like, nah, you're not getting no 10 bands. We don't care. Da-da-da-da-da. Right as the sheriff and Carrie are talking, the police officers inside find out what the abbreviation for that part of the military he was in, the MCMPA, whatever. It stands for Marine Corps, Martial Arts, Reprimandation, whatever. Like, it stands for Marine Corps and like fighting, basically. So basically he's in the Marines. He knows how to fight. He's trained in jiu-jitsu and all types of combat. And the type of combat he's trained in is lack of need for weapons. So basically he's trained to be the type of combator that doesn't need a weapon. Like, they won't ever give him a gun or a knife or anything. He has to just go and figure it out. Like, whatever he has on hand, he can kill you with. So that's basically what they find out. As soon as they find out, they're scared for the sheriff now. They run out to go save the sheriff. And right then, boom, he grabs the sheriff, disarms the sheriff from his gun and holds the gun to the sheriff's head. He's like, back up. Y'all need to back up. He holds the sheriff hostage until he gets inside the police station, holds the rest of them hostage, grabs... Okay, so then he says, give me 10K out of the 30K in there. You can round up if you need to, but like, make sure there's 10K. A deal is a deal. Y'all can keep the rest of the money. I don't care. I just want my money. Holds them hostage. He takes the little black mammy officer, tells her, disarms her, like, what's it called? shackles or whatever the other officers and the sheriff, and he tells her, you're gonna fake, because there's a bunch of rednecks outside with guns waiting to kind of kill him when he gets outside. So when he gets outside, he tells the lady, he's like, I will kill all those rednecks, you know that, right? Like, I'm a better shooter than them. They're like, I'm better trained than them. They just think they're gonna kill me because they have a lot of guns and ammo and stuff, but I will kill them. Do you want me to go kill all your friends? She's like, no, I don't want anyone to die. Let's just do this as calm as possible. So he's like, all right, you're gonna fake like you arrested me and that you're taking me to the jail, because the jail and the sheriff's officers are in two different places. So we're gonna get out there. You're gonna tell them to put their guns down and that it's fine. You guys were able to, get me under in cuffs, and you're taking me to the jail now. So he fakes, does like, like he's under arrest, walks out, and they drive away, right? And then they drive away. He tells her to stop somewhere. He's like, oh yeah, if you try to like keep me back here in the police car, because you know how police cars, you're locked in once you're in the back, and he's clearly in the back. He's like, if you try to do anything, I'm gonna just shoot through the glass and then get out like that. So she's like, okay. So then they stop the car, and she lets him out. He has his bike in the trunk of the police car, right? She's like, she has to put in a BPD or whatever you call those things where the officers get on the walkie-talkies and tell each other what's going on. She has to get on that and say like, hey, he got away, because then obviously they're going to be asking her like, girl, you put him in the back of the police car and said you were driving to the jail. Where is he? So she puts on the monitor, hey, suspect got away, he's on the run, whatever. He grabs his bike and goes. She's like, he tells her, tell them I'm unarmed. She's like, I'm not saying that unless you give me the gun. He takes all the bullets out of the gun and like throws them everywhere, and he hands her the gun. And then she says, he's unarmed though, like just grab him or whatever. And he's like, bet. And then he bikes away. He bikes through the forest and the wilderness and all these places. And he gets to the courthouse where he needs to pay his cousin's bail. He pays the cousin's bail. He pays the cousin's bail because the lady's ready for him. Remember, he told her to be ready with the paperwork, so then that way the minute he gets there, they can get to it. When he gets there, he knows the police are on the way looking for him. So he's kind of in a time crunch of like, they need to process the bail money as quick as possible before the police come to arrest him. And then that way, in his head, he's thinking if they arrest him, they'll take him to the jail where his cousin's at. And it's fine. He doesn't mind getting arrested if he's in the same jail as the cousin, because then he can save the cousin too. Like if anyone tries to mess with him, he can just be there and protect the cousin. No one will kill the cousin if he's there. So he gets arrested at the courthouse, but he gets there, but the police don't get there in time to stop him from finishing paying the bail. So the bail's at least paid now. The cousin can get out of jail, right? Once he's arrested, he's in the police cruiser, and he's thinking that they're taking him to jail. Bro, they stopped the car somewhere and they let him out. When they let him out, the sheriff is where they let him out at. It's like they're at the hospital or something, right? They're at the hospital, and he's like, why are we here? I thought y'all was arresting me, taking me to jail. The sheriff's like, okay, a big mistake has been made. Here's your money back. He brings out the Chinese bag with all the rest of the money, other than the 10K, obviously, in there, and he gives it back to him. And he's like, look, we made a mistake. It was oversight. I'm sorry. But, we can end this peacefully or we can end this badly. And then when he says we can end this peacefully or we can end this badly, he tells him the cousin's dead. Basically, when he got to the jail, they stabbed him up. Uh, we don't know if he survived, but he's on the way from that jail back here right now to the, like, there's a helicopter coming, HVAC, to drop him off so that he can be treated at the hospital. And he's pissed. When the HVAC gets there, the cousin didn't make it. The cousin's dead. Now the cousin died. But he has the money back, and he's thinking to himself, he's just going to give up. He's just going to go. He's just going to go buy the truck that he was going to buy anyway and haul bolts without the cousin and just be sad. And that's just that on that, I guess, right? After that, a bunch of John Wick like stuff happens. They like that little lady that at the courthouse who was helping him. I guess the officers in the small town were mad at her for helping him, so they go to her house and like, frame her for using drugs and like do a bunch of stuff to her. He comes back. He decides to like, help her out. Whatever. The end of the movie was kind of dry, but all to say, the movie was a good movie. It was just that it was a bit like, it was hard to be invested in the plot because they didn't really give us any backstory on him. Like, the only backstory we have is once the police officers find out that he did training for Marines, like, so we don't really know anything about him. We don't really have any emotional ties or investment of the cousin because we never really met the cousin. Like, the only time we see the cousin is when he's on the bus and he's riding the bike next to him to tell him to be careful because they're going to try to kill him. Like, there's no real like moment to really start investing in the movie where you're like, oh my God, I love this character, or oh my God, he came from this and now he's trying to do this. Like, there's no real like emotional pull in the movie. It's just kind of like, if you like action and want to see a guy who's really big and light skinned and with blue eyes for 2 hours, then watch it. I feel like it's more aesthetically pleasing to watch than it is like storyline. Like, it seemed like Tyler Perry wrote this script. It's very, very lackluster script, And like, even like the climax is mad confusing because there's a couple, like, there's like a section where after she gets drugged up and is in danger, he comes back and tries to save her. But that, so he like has two people to save. He has to save the courthouse lady and he's saving his cousin. So like, there's like two different moments. And I didn't like how in one of them he's trying to save a drug dealer, and then in the second one he's trying to save a white woman. Like, what are we trying to say here? I don't know. I just didn't understand who exactly they made this movie for, because how is it that this movie is about a light-skinned black man with blue eyes who's getting racially profiled by some white sheriff's department and now needs to save drug dealers and courthouse white women? Like, I just didn't understand, but I did understand like the, racial, lines and like, overreach of power that a lot of these police stations, especially in small towns, have. They can kind of get away with murder. Like, they took his money, and even in court he probably couldn't get it back, because even the courthouse lady said if he tries to fight it in court, he's probably going to spend double the money that he has tied up in court trying to get it back from the court. So it doesn't make sense to do. And I'm just like, well, dang. But like, it did, but if I do want to like, put the trade-off to like creative process type of like his ability to stay calm and cool tempered the entire film was really commendable, because I don't know, I would have crashed out by then, but that's the thing about like when you're trying to fight for like whatever your endeavor is that like the person who stays calm, cool, and collected while all the mistakes happen, back to like you're trying to make clothes and you decided you want to be a fashion designer type of analogy. Let's say you're a fashion designer and like all these mistakes keep happening. Every time you try to like make an outfit, like somehow, like, you know, there's always a small mistake within the clothes, like one pant leg is a little longer than the other. What's it called? The seams don't look as perfect as they do in most clothes. You don't know how to make, shape to your clothes, so they all look quite boxy right now. Like, you know, all of these things. There's going to be two types of people on that type of journey. One person is going to have all those mistakes happen to them and is going to crash out. They're going to be like so irritated every single time they make a new item of clothing and it doesn't come out the correct way. They're just going to be really angry and just like, oh my God, this is so stupid. And also, it's very time consuming. So, the amount of time it takes and the amount of little mistakes, one sleeve was wrong. So now you have to remake that sleeve. You have to go back and do it again. Like, there's going to be a long, long process. One person is going to get angry every single time a new mistake comes and decide to stop for a minute and just be like, oh, I can't take this, and walk away. That person is going to take like a week to make a shirt, right? The other person is going to keep seeing mistakes happen, shirt sleeves too long, shape not correct, this not happen. And each time the mistake happens, they're going to be calm. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess this happened. Gotta go back, fix it. Gotta go back, fix it. But each time a mistake happens, they're super calm. They're just like, whatever. And they just do it again. Now, between those two people, which one of them is going to have a successful fashion career? In my opinion, it's going to be the person who not never gets upset, but keeps a very cool temper every time a mistake happens. Like something bad happens, but they're just like, okay, well, what is the leftover results of this mistakes? Like, what can I do now? Like, the sleeves are wrong, but like, what can I do now? Okay, the only option is to take the seams off of the sleeves, cut them again, and then re-sew it. So, gotta do that. Like, that person who's just like looking at, okay, there's a problem, but what are my options for solution each time, is going to keep pushing forward. And that week-long shirt that it took the person who kept getting angry and quit to do, that person will do in like 1 to 2 days, So they're also, in one way, increasing their speed, and in a second way, they're increasing their they're increasing their likelihood to continue because they're not getting upset. They're not getting, like, that time that you're taking to be upset before you start again on a creative project is like vital time you could be using to make more mistakes. So every time you make a mistake and you let that be a reason you're upset enough to not do what you're supposed to do, you're kind of in hand using up time that is, no matter what, when you go back, going to be spent making more mistakes. Because the mistakes that you must make are going to happen regardless. So each time you take a break from making more mistakes because you're frustrated by the last mistake, you're wasting time for like doing the future mistakes that are going to stop you from making new mistakes in the coming future. Like, I do say that the one thing I did learn from this movie was like to keep calm under high intense situations, because even another part of the creative process I would say that was really co-aligning with this movie was like when people know what your goal is, a lot of the time they just want to know what your goal is in order to stop you from achieving it. Like, the minute the officers knew that all the money was legal and it was very important for him to quickly get the money to a certain place in order to pay for his cousin's bail and save his life and all these things, like, the minute they knew that, is as if like their mouth started salivating. They were so excited to be able to get in his way from doing that. they really, really wanted to make sure that his life was as difficult as possible each step of the way. Like each time he was trying to do anything good or productive, they would make it a problem. So like, let's say for example, they hit him with the car, right? Now they want to see if he's going to turn up and like um try to attack them for hitting him with the car. He doesn't. He stayed calm. Now they're mad that he stayed calm post getting hit with the car, right? So now they're like, we're going to search you and like give you problems in that way. Now they search him, find out he has money. Now they're mad that he has money. They're like, what? How dare he have money? So now they find out that he's trying to use that money for a goal. They're like, how dare he has a goal? Now we're going to make sure he doesn't get that goal done. Now they're mad he knows the rules of the law and is coming to, report what they've done to him. They're like, no way you're going to get it. You're going to be able to do that either. Like, it should. And then he calls the Chinese restaurant to try to get them to lend him new money. They're like, they look up the Chinese restaurant and make sure that that restaurant is tied up with drug charges. So then that way they can't make money. Therefore, they can't give him money. They stop him there. Like, because they know what his goal is, they're at every point of the way figuring out, just as quickly as he's figuring out solutions to his problems, they're figuring out new problems to add to his solutions, And that is a big part, I feel, of the creative process too, is that a lot of times when you're trying to make something and people know what you're trying to make, they will a lot of times try to sabotage you. Like, I'm going to continue with fashion just because that's the line we're in right now. But like, if people know you're trying to make clothes and they know that you consider the clothes you make high end, they're going to try to convince you to make your prices cheaper, for example, right? If people know you're trying to make clothes and you're trying to like sell it to a specific body size, they're going to try to accuse you of body shaming or lack of inclusivity. If you try to make clothes and they're like a certain style, they'll say you're trying to corrupt the youth with this style. Every step of the way in a creative process, as the minute people see what you picked for your creative like decision of like how you like things, there's gonna be a lot of people now, because they know what you're up to, trying to get in your way by saying all the problems that they can find with your creation instead of all the solutions that you've been able to find through this creation. Because I feel like a lot of times when you're making things, a lot of your decisions of what you pick on making is just you picking based off a problem you have. Like, let's say, for example, back in the day, you want to make a movie, or no, I want to continue with fashion. You want to make clothes, but you don't have money for fabric, but you do have a sewing machine. So you end up being the type of designer who uses old clothes that you find anywhere, flea market clothes, clothes that is in your closet, clothes that is donated to you, and you put together all the fabrics from all these different articles of clothing to make your brand new clothes of your design, right? But so now people are complaining to you maybe that, oh, all of your clothes are like refurbished. But it's like, you decided to make refurbished clothes because you can't afford fabric. So it was a solution to a problem in order to continue your creation. And that's the real reason you're using refurbished clothes, not because, oh, why are they using refurbished clothes? They should have done it like this with new fabric. They could have bought fabric. They could have done this. They could have done that. It's like people are always going to be naysaying your creative process But a lot of the times, your creative process is based off problems that you have that need a solution in order for you to continue. Like, think about people who make, like, you know, or maybe it's even like a problem that someone like has previously made to you in the past. Like, you know, your parents never let you wear jeans. So now you make all your clothes out of denim. It's like a solution to an inner part, an inner child of you that like always wanted to wear jeans but was never allowed to. So now that you're old enough and like doing whatever you want to do, you want all your clothes to be made out of denim to like feed that problem you have of like being insecure in denim because you never were allowed to wear jeans as a child or something like that. Like, you know, it's a stretch a little bit of a comparison, but you know, that's kind of a little how my mind works as far as like when I'm watching things and I'm thinking about comparing it to my own life. Obviously, I've never been a vet. I've never been a light-skinned, built man with blue eyes fighting a racist police department in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Like, I have to take what I can and relate to the parts that relate to me. And I do feel like the part that relates to me the most is like within a creative process of people continuously trying to sabotage you, or like even the creative process itself trying to sabotage you, because so many problems come along with deciding to pick a creative endeavor. Like, you know, like not knowing what you're gonna do next is so similar to this problem that he's facing, Carrie's facing, as it is with the creative process, because it's like the entire time he's spending it having to come up with solutions as he goes. So he's like, okay, cousin's in jail. What can I do? I have a restaurant and I have a truck. If I sell both of those, should be enough money to bail him out. Boom, does that. Okay, now I don't have a truck. I just sold it in order to get his bail money. How do I get to the courthouse in order to bail him out? Well, I have a bike. That's all I have. I guess I have to bike the entire way there. He gets on a bike, bro. I don't know. To me, it's insane to try to bike in the type of areas that he was in, because he's in the country. Like, I know the distance between even just the sheriff's office and the courthouse is something insane, let alone from wherever he's coming from. To be biking though that distance is really, really insane. But he has a problem, and he doesn't have any other solution, because he spent all the money as well. He needs all the money as well for the bail and for the boating business. So it's like he can't just be out here spending money on, like, you know, rides between all these places. It's financially smarter for him to bike. And I guess he has the stamina to bike. So he decides to do that. Next problem. Police took all my money. What do I do next? Well, I have a time limit to get him out of jail. Head to the courthouse and see what I can do there. Okay, court says they can't help me. Sheriff's department is who they are recommending me go to. Head to the sheriff. Like, he's just, as the problems come, he's dealing with it. He's dealing with them as they come. He's never too, like, in his head of, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this to me. And, like, dwelling on what they just did, such as hitting him with a car. Or, like, thinking too much in the future. Oh my God, he's gonna die. I've already ruined, like, my chances. My cousin's gonna die. Like, he never breaks down about the cousin potentially dying until after the cousin's already dead. Like, he's only ever dealing with what's really directly in front of him. And I think a big part of the, like, I wouldn't say pull, but like a big part of the, like, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Like an easy part of the creative process to fall into is like the time you have to dwell, you know. So you'll like look back at like old projects you've made, let's say if it's clothes, and just see like, oh my God, like these look so bad, or these don't look that good. Like, look at all the mistakes I still haven't been able to figure out how to not do, you know. And so you spend a lot of time dwelling on like old projects that aren't coming out the way you want them to come out. Or you go the opposite direction and you dwell on your future because you have a vision. You know exactly what you want. You know how you want your creativity to be in line with your life. So now you spend a lot of time dwelling on the future of like, why doesn't anyone see what I see? This vision is the best vision ever. This is the way things should go. This is how, when everyone finally respects my creativity, they'll know that they should have respected it now when I'm doing everything that needs to be done. This, that, and the third. Like, you just get to dwelling about future outcomes that haven't happened yet. And that like creative, you know, pull to sit in rumination for long times really is quite a luxury. When you watch films like this or like people who are going through moments like this, you really just understand how your life is just based off circumstance, because all the problems you consider problems are only considered problems because nothing else more dire is happening. Nothing else more important is happening for you to think, for you not to think these are problems, Like, and his ability to like stay calm and stay very, very focused on what is in front of him at the moment it's in front of him and how he wants to react to it. Oh my goodness. I think that's probably the only thing you could learn from the movie is how to trust in your skills so much that you're always just patiently waiting to decide which skill to use, that demeanor and stoicism he had, super, super, super commendable. And I feel like, taking that into my own creative process is like, I feel like that is a bit what the stage I'm at is like just really relying on whatever skill you have and like just facing whatever's in front of you with a cool, calm kind of demeanor. Because I promise you, if he had turned up at any point in the movie like wrong, he could have missed vital information. Because when you're acting up too much too, that's another thing. Like when you're reacting too often, you don't have time to pay attention to other people's reactions and to other things around you that are vital information. He was always well informed because he never allowed himself to react. He always just listened and asked questions so he knew as much information as possible before he made his next decision. And that is super important too. I think, it gets easy to let your emotions start to control you, especially as a creative. Like your work is so reliant on your emotions because it feeds the energy that you put into the art. But like that ability to separate yourself from the emotions in order to skillfully get things done is really important. Like, that's why you make all those mistakes. That's why you make bad shirts and bad pants and bad jackets and bad shoes and bad this and bad that. That's why you make bad versions of all of these things. So that in the moment when your emotions are at its highest, you can just rely on the skill that you now have post making all those mistakes. You can rely on the information that is in front of you instead of your emotional state. Like let's say you are working on a project for pants and you get there and the fabric is the wrong fabric. If you're in an emotional state, you'll just let the fact that you have the wrong fabric tear you up and then there's no clothes made at all. But if you allow yourself to just rely on your skill and separate your frustration with the wrong fabric, you could still make something great. You could still make good pants. They just won't be exactly what you thought it was gonna be. He thought he was just gonna go directly to the police station on his bike and pay for his cousin's bail, get him out, and start hauling boats. Every single step of such a simple thing that he thought he was going to do was literally the hardest time of his life. Every step of the way was the most difficult thing ever, you know? And he never stopped because it was life or death. So, I mean, this isn't life or death, but in a way it is. Because everything in life is life or death. It's one or another. Either something's alive or it's dead. So, you know, are you going to allow your creativity to be alive or dead? I feel like, you know, the sheriff, if we want to make an analogy to represent the creative process, the sheriff, the police officers, and all the courthouse red tape is kind of like the problems and mistakes you make during creative process. And the goal to get his cousin out was the vision of the creative process, and the guy is the creative, and the fight that he went through with everyone is the process, you know? So, yeah. The movie's well shot, though. The guy is, oh my God, the guy makes it so much easier to watch because he's just so blue-eyed. But it was okay movie. I wouldn't pay to watch that movie, though. Like, because whoever's in the writer's room, it was being very lackluster. Get Tyler Perry out of that writer's room. Get him out immediately. That was just so badly written of a movie, but like, still, in everything in life, there's something to learn, you know? So, be the type of person who can learn from anything, because it'll help your creative process as well.